Hey everybody, how we doing? Can y'all hear me okay? Uh, it's funny because when I first started Vlogmas on Friday, I was here by myself, or it took a little while, and then I popped in today, and I'm seeing y'all are all here. I'm so glad, Ballerina, that you have found this series useful. Like I said, I opted to do Vlogmas and kind of do my own little spin on it. I'm not really following the official rules, but that's okay. All right. So, yes, today is day 5 of Vlogmas. If you are not familiar with what Vlogmas is, it's a YouTube tradition, and it's kind of like an video advent calendar as we count down the days until the 25th. Various YouTube creators are posting a new video every day. I just decided that if I was going to do this, my videos would be live instead. So, like I said, today is day 5. I go live here every day at 2 p.m. Eastern. Thank you for coming to hang out with me, and thanks to the people in the future who happen to be watching this on the replay. Today, we are going to continue with the theme of moving abroad. This whole week, we've been talking about, different ways you could move abroad, how to plan that move abroad, what's the proper mindset. So, we're staying with that theme. A lot of my content on this topic focuses on getting abroad, country shopping, planning, and finding resources and doing all of those things to help you get abroad. But today we're going to talk about what happens when you finally get to the other side. Um, and before we do that, there may be new people here who have no idea who I am. So let me introduce myself. If you are new here, my name is Adelia Aborashade, but most people know me as Picky Girl Travels the World. I left the US 7 years ago because I wanted to live the life of my dreams, which for me meant it needed to include a lot of travel. I talk about those travels on this channel. I also talk about what it's like to live abroad and how to get your finances in a place that you too can do whatever it is you've been dreaming about. So if that sounds good to you, you're in the right place. Glad you found us. If you want to keep videos like this showing up in your feed, the way to let YouTube know that is to subscribe, to hit the like button. Um, that lets them know that, hey, people like this video. We should show them more of that. So, oh, okay. Before we get started, I gotta say something to this. Love to travel with Wave. I want to move abroad. I need an online job so I can work from any country doing the research. You're in the right place. If you go to a playlist that I have on this channel called How to Move Abroad, you will find tons of stuff there to help you figure that out, figure out the job part, the visa part, all of that. I am glad to hear this, Eileen. Aileen, I know you told me and I forgot. I'm sorry. I'm loving this content since it hits on what questions I have about moving abroad. That is awesome. I had also hoped that these videos would give those of you who have to be at work a little bit of a break. I know when I was still like working a traditional job, I was useless. Come December 1st, I was useless. I was just there so I would not get fined. So I know what it's like to have those days where you could use a break from the monotony. Okay. All right. So let's talk about it. Somebody, this video is brought to you by somebody who posted in one of the groups I'm in. They posted like, what did y'all do your first few days in the city? And I've not given that kind of question a whole lot of thought or consideration. Because so much of the content I make and other content creators focuses on getting abroad, how to move abroad, choosing countries, finding visas, all of that kind of stuff. And then there's a lot of people who focus on, okay, so I'm now moved to this country. This is what my life is like. I've made a few of those day in the life videos on this channel as well. But I'm sure there is content out there. I just don't see a lot of it of like, okay, I just landed and this is what I'm doing right after I got there. So this question intrigued me and I thought, okay, so let's talk about that. I have pretty much done the same few things those first few days that I arrive in a new country in all four of the countries outside of my home country that I've lived in, Mexico, Kuwait, not Hong Kong, Honduras, and China. Pretty much the only difference for me has been whether I had to thug it out by myself or whether I had assistance because of the various times I've moved to different countries. I have moved to Mexico twice on my own without a job. So I had to figure everything out myself. In the other three countries, I was there to work. So one of the benefits of that is somebody who spoke the language because I did not speak Chinese or Arabic. There was somebody who spoke the language who could, be a fixer for me and help me through the various things. But I think what you do kind of looks the same no matter where you are. Um, okay. So, uh, first thing that you want to do if when you're moving abroad, particularly if or once you are in this place that you have moved to, particularly if this is not just you're gonna bop there for a couple of weeks or a couple of months. If this is like a move, one of the first things you want to do is get a local phone number. I know WhatsApp, first of all, you should have WhatsApp on your phone. Okay, that's probably first. You need WhatsApp outside of the US. I know people don't like to use WhatsApp in the US, but pretty much everybody else in the world, that's how they're using it to communicate. They're not using the built-in SMS text message feature on their cell phones. They're using WhatsApp. So you that's an absolute must. You need that. But if it's going to be a country that you're going to be in and you're going to be taking care of business, making appointments, maybe you've got to secure housing, maybe you are going to be ordering takeout, various things like that, having a local number is really important for a couple reasons. When it comes to like apartment hunting and that sort of thing, do you want to advertise that you're a foreigner? Have your foreign phone number be how they got to contact you on WhatsApp. Having a local number uh, adds another layer to, kind of hopefully keep you away from those foreigner inflated prices. And then in some businesses, they simply won't contact you if there is a foreign number, even if it is on WhatsApp and they are on WhatsApp. If it's a foreign number, they're not even thinking about that. So if you've got a US phone number, anybody who has WhatsApp and has your number and has the country code in front, a +1, they can contact you. But what happens is, at least here, and I imagine this happens other places, they see your number and they're not thinking about like, that doesn't look like a local number. What's the country code? So make your life easier, get a local phone number. That then begs the question about, do I need to have two phones? What about my US phone? So on and so forth. If you have not, let me see if I have a link. do. Look at me. Okay. If you don't have it already, I have a free move abroad checklist that you can get at this URL right here. And one of the things I mentioned on this checklist is that it's a when you leave your home country, bring an unlocked phone with you. Okay. Because I am not an I person, I have always had unlocked dual SIM phones in every country I have lived in, including in China. If anybody is watching this and they are preparing for a move to China, what you do not want to do is buy a cell phone in China that you hope to use in other parts of the world, because remember, the Chinese government limits access to certain sites. So, like, none of the Google stuff will work on that phone, even when you leave China. Okay. So, I am a proponent of dual SIM phones. I keep the SIM for my US number in there. I don't always have it turned on, but I keep it in there. And then I have a local SIM for whatever country I happen to be living in. Now, I don't know nothing about eSIMs. I hear people talk about that with iPhones. That is not my business. I don't know anything about that. But you want an unlocked phone, then it is going to make getting that local number super, super easy. Depending on the country, there may be some paperwork required, but here in Mexico, literally, you go to the convenience store and you ask for a chip. They will sell it to you with a little bit of time on it, and then you can just top it up from there. Okay. Um, so get WhatsApp, get your local number. Okay. You have just arrived. You've got a place to stay, whether this is temporary or permanent. What you want to do is walk the neighborhood. You want to get a feel for it. I said this in a video earlier this week that this is really how you get to know a place. And whatever place you're staying in, you chose it for a reason, even if it is temporary accommodation. This might be a neighborhood that you are considering longer term. Okay, so get out, walk the neighborhood. This is how you find the businesses that you will ultimately need and the services. Um, Maybe on that walk, you figure out what's the closest ATM, uh, or you do like a Google Map search before you go out on the street, and that's what you do. You're like, okay, this is the closest ATM. Let me take a walk there to see what the vibe is. How long does it take? And along the route, you pay attention to what are the different businesses you see, that kind of thing. So you want to know where's the closest ATM because you are going to need cash. Um, Even, I mean, short of moving to some Western or Northern European country where you can pretty much do where they're trying not to use cash at all. If you're moving to Asia, you're moving to Latin America, I assume if you're moving to places in Africa, you're going to need cash. So you need to know where the closest ATM is. Now, notice I didn't say anything about ATM fees because if you've watched any of the videos on this channel, you know how I feel about paying fees. Because, of course, you've used my Move Abroad checklist and you already have secured an account with Fidelity or Charles Schwab or somebody else that rebates ATM fees around the world and doesn't charge you foreign transaction fees. See, I don't have to mention that because you already know that part, right? So you're walking the neighborhood, you're figuring out where the closest ATM is. Where's the closest market or grocery store? Um, for Really, most places outside the United States, the place that you're probably going to be buying groceries or buying food that needs preparing is probably going to be a market and not a grocery store. One of the things that trips people up when they come to Mexico, where I live now, is they are looking because they're looking for things to work similarly to how they did stateside, and they're going to the grocery store, and maybe that experience is not the same as the grocery store experience in the US. There's far fewer items on the shelf. Maybe it's I'm not gonna say quality, but like I see things in the frozen section a lot, and I'm like, how long has that been in there? But pretty much outside the US, most people are gonna be shopping at a market. Where is the closest one for you? Uh, figuring out where that is. So you've covered how can I get money? How can I get food? And then maybe this is not on your walk, but maybe this is you taking a little time and spending some time with Google Maps. You're figuring out where is the closest pharmacy and the closest hospital. We are hoping that you don't need the hospital, but this is very outside of the US. Um, you it if how do I want to say this? You want to go to a hospital in which you feel comfortable with the level of service that will be provided. All hospitals are not the same. And so if for some reason you needed to go, you need to be able to say, take me here, because otherwise you might end up at some place that you really, really you don't like too much. Pharmacies, um, I can't say. I don't remember because I rarely go to pharmacies because here in Mexico, it's very common for there to be a doctor attached to the pharmacy. I would guess it is similar in other countries, but I can't honestly, I can't tell you because I've never been to the pharmacy outside of Mexico. But you want to know where the pharmacy is, primarily because a lot of things, a lot of medications that let's say you get ill, there are things you can get over the counter outside the US that you usually can't get in the US. So being able to go to the pharmacy like you're sick, you're like, I need some antibiotics. Here, that is not a trip to the doctor because you can just go to the pharmacy and ask for the antibiotic. Okay. Um, I have heard this as well. This is again not my area expertise because y'all know I don't buy produce, but I do hear people complain about this. So this is why I say figure out where the market is because especially if you're somebody who buys produce, you're probably going to have a better experience there than maybe at the like regular mid-level grocery store. A lot of countries have super high-end grocery stores that will probably be a lot more closer to your US experience, but it's going to be expensive. It is going to be expensive. Okay. Bu- 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 Um, is this still a thing? Because with some of my banks, it is not. Like Capital One, they have removed this as an option. They are like, girl, we know you be everywhere. Don't worry about calling us. Um, I it's been a long time since I have done that. So this is why I'm asking, is that still a thing? Or maybe I just bank with folks that are like, yeah, we know you be all over the place. Yeah, I've not done a travel alert. I can't tell you how many years it's been since I've done a travel alert. Um, so yeah, but if you know that your bank is one of those, do that before you leave. Don't wait till you already get there to do that. Do that before you leave, because that sounds like that could be not fun. All right. So you walk the neighborhood. Hopefully on that walk, one of the things that you took in as you were walking around is looking at local transportation options. Um, is this a place where you need a card of some sort to access local transportation? Are there bike rentals? Are there e-bikes? Things like that. How does that work? This is something I would be figuring out in those first few days after I have arrived somewhere. I learned a difficult lesson when I moved to China. I did not, things happened very, very quickly when I got my visa. And so a lot of the pre-country things I would have done, I didn't do. So I did not bring much cash with me. And I was like, that's fine. I got a credit card. It'll be good. I get there and I find out that they don't take credit cards in China. I'd been to China before, but I'd been as a tourist. So I came with cash to exchange into RMBs. This time, I did not bring much cash with me. And I thought I would just go to the store and put things on credit card. And then I got there and found out that no, they don't take credit cards. They take cash and they take what do you call it? Where you like pay from your phone. It's not Apple Pay, not Google Pay. They like Alipay was one and the other one I think was on WeChat. But they only took electronic payments and you could not introduce a credit card to that. You had to either connect it to your local bank account, or what I ended up having to do was give somebody local cash, and then they sent me money electronically on WeChat. And then I could use that money to go to the grocery store, to rent a bike. That bike rentals, that was how most people got around. Same thing if I wanted to connect. We didn't have Uber in China, we had Didi. If I wanted to take Didi, I had to connect Didi to my WeChat or Didi to my Alipay. And so figuring out how the transit works, because I had learned the lesson the first time I came to Mexico, because I had taken mass transit all over Europe. You didn't need cash. You go in there with your credit card to buy the ticket, the card, whatever. I got to Mexico and was like, this is the first country I've been to where they only accept cash for public transit. So that's one of the things you should do when you first get there is figure out, do you need a specific kind of card? Like how do you pay things for mass transit? If there is a card, set about how do I go get about getting one and figuring that out. If you're going to be renting bikes, sorting out how that works. Again, bike rental usually works off of an app, and those apps usually require a local number. Okay. Um, One of the things that I am not going to say to do when you first get somewhere is open a bank account. When I moved for a job, that was always one of the first things that happened because I needed to be able to get paid. And like I said, in China, everything is connected. Your bank account is connected to the e-pay systems, and so that has to happen. But I wouldn't necessarily. I don't necessarily think that's a necessity, especially depending on your residency situation. In many countries, Mexico being one of them, if you don't have residency, you really can't open a bank account to begin with. But then there is also the question of, do you really need one? So that's why I've not mentioned that as one of the first few things that you need to do in those first few days. Okay, if the housing you have is meant to be short term, I would immediately start the process of looking for longer term housing. Um, this tends to be the thing that has taken the most work. The two times that I have moved abroad by myself, that was the hardest thing that I had to do. So I would start that process as soon as possible. And again, having that local phone number is going to be helpful in that process. Whether you're dealing with agents, whether you're texting numbers and calling numbers yourself, um, that's something you're gonna need the local number for, and you wanna get it as soon as possible. I'm just looking through, um, thingamabob here. This is thank you, Ani Lu, for mentioning this. Okay, smaller bills and change. Outside of the in the US, I know right now y'all are having a change shortage, but generally in the US, people don't like having change. If you had to pay somebody and you paid them in change, that might get you a side eye. Outside of the US, change is your friend. You are going to need change to tip people, to pay for things. Uh, Here, they are just starting to transition over some of the buses to be able to take the card, but usually buses you need change for small bills. Um, and when I say a small bill, in the United States, I don't know if y'all consider a 20 to be a large bill, but I can tell you that for a big chunk of the world, the equivalent of a $20 bill would be considered a large bill. So you want smaller bills, the vast majority of places, um, because of tips and because nobody is going to want to break your large bill. I went to El Salvador for the last Reclaim the Retreat, and the week before I was in El Salvador, I was in Buenos Aires. Both of them were places I needed to have USD. So while I was in the US at the end of October, I made a point to get USD. The problem was in Argentina, in order to exchange USD for their currency, they only wanted to accept crisp new $100 bills. Okay, got that. Um, but then I'm going to El Salvador, which is on the US dollar. But let me tell you, ain't nobody in El Salvador going to take $100 bill from me. They're not even going to take a 20 if they can help it. So then I needed to find somebody, and I couldn't find anybody in Argentina to break the $100 bill for me. I had to hit up somebody who I was traveling with to get as many like ones and fives as possible, um, because small bills are super, super important. Um, I think anything y'all think I missed on those first few days, especially those of you, I saw several of you in the comments mentioned that you just gotten uh, to a new location. Is there anything that you think we missed? Okay, I don't see any questions if I go back. Okay. Um, okay, y'all, I ain't lived in the US in a long time. I've seen a couple of videos online that talked about uh the coin shortage. So I don't know. All right. I like this. Build a first aid kit. This is good advice. Um, once my children were not living with me anymore, I used to be the mom that had the thermometers, the bandages, all that stuff. But once it was just me and the dog, that part of my brain cut off. And my youngest daughter came to visit me when I first moved to Mexico. And I think she cut her finger or something. And she was like, I need a band-aid. And I looked at her like, I don't have any band-aids. And I think she said to me, she was like, what kind of mother are you? So yes, you should have a first aid kit. So when you're doing that walk and you check out the pharmacy, hit them up. Practice your newfound language skills. Figure out like, what's the word for band-aid? What are those very, very basic first aid things? That is really, really good advice. Um, okay, is there a way to check what medications are allowed? Yes. This would be a Google. This might also be this information might also be on the if you go to the US State Department and then their country specific pages, this information might be there. But what you want to know is basically, I would think this would fall under controlled substances, but a Google of which medications are illegal in blank country, you know, and then you can find out that way. All right. So that's it for day 5 of Vlogmas. If you are like, "What? There are other Vlogmas videos?" There is a Vlogmas playlist on my channel, so you can go back and watch those. Otherwise, I will see y'all again tomorrow at 2 p.m. Bye.